P.O.P podcast, let's go. The P.O.P podcast, let's go. The P.O.P podcast starts now.
Hello and welcome to the P.O.P podcast. I'm your host, Jason Sirotin, joined as always by my co-host, Scott Haley. Scott, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's spring here in Minnesota. Snow's on the ground, but it's melting rapidly.
Ice storm here this weekend in New Hampshire. So I understand. We are lucky enough to be graced by Miss Andrea Cook. You can visit AndreaCookConsulting.com to learn more. Andrea has been a long time orthodontic clinical consultant, and she's here to share her story with us today. Andrea, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's I'm in the Seattle area, and we're having a little bit of spring here. It was mow the lawn day, so once your snow gets gone, you'll be able to enjoy what I did, mowing the lawn.
That's awesome. So let's start off real simple. How do you and Scott know each other?
Oh,
Well, I will start because I was a young sales rep. Andrea probably doesn't even know this, or like young sales rep, meaning like and I went to an office, and the doctor, and I'll throw out a name because I don't think she'll care. Her name was Donna Stenberg. Does that name ring a bell? Right.
absolutely.
And I didn't even know this world existed back then, but they were like, Andrea Cook is in the clinic. Andrea's here and I went in there and followed you around for like 30 minutes, and I was just amazed. So, and then, and if you go to an AAO or a meeting, she's kind of like a moth to the flames, or the doctors are the moth. She's the flame. And then Andrea and I did some projects in the corporate world a little bit, helping out doctors during the pandemic. So had an opportunity to reconnect with Andrea, and I thought she'd be a great resource for our doctors that are in POP and anyone else that's listening.
Andrea, where did you get into orthodontics? How did you kind of fall in love with it? Because you've devoted a lot of your life to it.
Yeah. I fell into it by chance. I moved over from Eastern Washington, Western Washington, and I ended up working for an orthodontist in the Auburn area, Dr. David Turpin. And he just made me fall in love with orthodontics. He didn't want assistants. He wanted somebody who understood ortho, understood the treatments, and he really challenged me. And I was probably into it. If I tell you numbers, you can add it up and know kind of where I am age-wise. But I worked with him about 20 years. I worked chairside, and I got a little restless and wanted a little more. And so I started going up to the university. He was a professor at UW, so going up there, and then started working with some of the mutual clients or doctors. And I still fell in love with it. I still was in love, or I am in love with orthodontics, but I just need a little something more. So I started my consulting business with his encouragement about 23 years ago. So that's 23 years. I have been honored, truly honored, to be able to go to these offices, work with doctors, work with teams, get their chaotic lives a little bit under control so that they can leave the office with little time and energy at the end of the day. And that's what I truly love, is when I go work with an office and they say, oh, I just worked with one a couple weeks ago, and I got a text from her and she said, it's working. Things are better. And that's what I want. That's what I want my office, is to work hard, but go home with something at the end of the day, have good systems and structure. So it's an honor to continue to be working in this relationship with all these doctors. So that's a little bit of my story.
Take me through what a clinical consultant does. What does a typical engagement look like?
There's absolutely no typical engagement. Absolutely none. But that's what makes me love this even more when I work with an office. Sometimes they'll come to me with a pain point or a problem or something like that, and I'll dive into it and figure out what they thought was their pain point was caused by something else. But the areas that I touch when I work with an office are anything that happens after a patient says yes. So after they meet with the TC, got everything scheduled, and then they move into the clinic. And I work with treatment efficiency, training a clinician, sterilization, organization, whatever's going to make that office move more smoothly. there's a lot of focus in the industry, and I appreciate it, I applaud it, but there's a lot of focus in the industry on making this, the new patient exam has to be this wow factor. And my goal is for every appointment within that patient's journey to be that wow. I don't want them, what I call, dumped into my clinic to where they're just, oh, she's here for her appointment, it's just a procedure. So I want to make sure the teams have what they need to make each of those visits an experience. But anything after that, whether it's schedule efficiency, building a template, sterilization, anything that happens in that clinic falls into my lap. And that's where I love to live.
So have you ever been in situations where it's like a kitchen nightmare, where you get in there and you just see that things are
I
just...
can tell you some stories that you wouldn't want to know.
What?
So
Well, now I want to know.
You should. Yeah,
Can you
like
tell
the
one? Like one from a long time ago where maybe somebody has moved on to another life and it won't hurt them?
yes.
No.
That would be a no.
Okay.
We'll do that after this. That's on the second round.
It's kind of like talking to an emergency room doctor, which is like, if you've known one, it's like, hey, just tell me your 3 weirdest things you've seen this year. And they're always, but I'm sure you see a lot, right? You've seen a lot.
I do. And one of the things I've heard a couple of times from the orthodontist is when they hire somebody to do this work with TC, to do marketing, things like that, that's fine. When I get into the clinic, it gets sometimes personal for doctors because that's their world. TC and marketing, they don't do much with that. They're on their own. But when I get into their personal space, which is the clinic, some doctors can feel a little bit intimidated, and I really hesitated to call you because I'm kind of embarrassed about where we are. And that's not the goal. The goal is never to look at where you were, where you are now. It's just like, where are we going to move next? Where are we going to move forward to? What are your goals? What do you want? And we just look forward. Don't look back at where you are now or what you have possibly, done in the past. We don't go there. It's just, let's move forward with where you want to be, where your team wants to be, and what you need to get you there. But like I said, it's a little bit more personal once we get into the clinic side of it for some of the doctors.
I can understand why you would want to tell a horror story, because you want people to feel comfortable knowing that it's all good, because you never know what's going to happen in a business. And sometimes things get topsy-turvy. And that's where, a really great partner comes in to help smooth things out.
And that's what I want to be. I want to be a partner with my offices, not a partner, a coach. We're going to work together and get this. It's not me doing it. We've got to get the team to buy in, the doctor to buy in, everybody on board with it. So
what are you seeing as the biggest challenge right now that people are facing?
I would say the biggest challenge comes twofold. Staffing, hiring, retaining, training, team members. That's one of the biggest challenges. And I'm hearing it across the country. It's not any area specifically. But along with that goes the challenge of maintaining protocols, processes that need to happen, whether it's a bonding protocol, whether it's a scheduling protocol, whether it's sterilization. Maintaining those protocols has really become a challenge because we have team members moving. They come, they stay 6 months, they're trained. They either came from another office with their own input, or I have no experience. So I'm just winging it because you haven't given me any training and systems and protocols to follow. So it's kind of like the Wild West in a lot of offices, and mainly because we have these team members that are just moving more. We have more moving pieces. And that's one of the biggest struggles. So between hiring and retaining and training, and then maintaining consistency and protocols, those are probably two of the biggest challenges. Once we get into that, then you get, our breakage rate is way up because, nobody's following the protocol. Well, we don't have a protocol. So it goes down from there, but those are probably the two biggest challenges and concerns I get from offices today.
How are those protocols enforced typically?
Hopefully we have somebody on the team that can be that if we don't have a doctor who does. Doctors are wonderful people. They have hearts of gold, but consistency and confrontation and enforcing oftentimes isn't one of their strengths. So if we have a doctor that doesn't have that, then we need to have somebody in the office that can be, whether that's an office manager, whether that's just a leader on the team that keeps reinforcing it. I'm really big right now on having consistent meetings that we go over these protocols, we review them, we say, no, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, to remind everybody so we stay on track. And that helps teams and helps accountability and enforcement less of an issue.
Yeah. Hey, quick, interesting. I listened to the Metrics That Matter podcast that Ortho 5 puts on. And that was interesting that OSOs grew more than private practices last year, right? And one of the things that, and everyone knows that staffing is a challenge, and it's the number one thing that comes up, hands down. So you brought up a really good point, because, in the corporate world, or if you're working for a big company, it doesn't matter. The procedures and the training is usually very systematic, playbooks, they do it. Do you think can you talk a little bit about the sophistication that some of these group practices are doing with training versus our private practices, and maybe that there's a gap there between the two, or not a gap?
Private practices, their training protocol typically is sink or swim. And I understand it now, and I'm feeling the pain of the clinical team, all team members, that I'm already running one team member down, two team members down, and I'm having to do, I'm supposed to be in charge of training, and I don't have enough bandwidth, I don't have enough time. So these trainees get kind of left out to the wolves and to figure it out. Some of them, the strong ones, are going to make it, and they're going to say, no, I really want to do this. I'm going to make it happen. And a lot of them will say, I'm just too frustrated. I'm out of here. So until we get to the point where we have those strengths, we have those strong protocols, that's when we're going to get to where the training process is easier, because we can say, here's a video on this, here's material on this. However a new team member learns, we want to tap into that and give them what they need. But that's the piece that a lot of the corporates, the corporate entities, they have more bandwidth for that, and they have people that can develop that and maintain it. In our private practices, it's one of the areas that we're short on. We just struggle with having systems and protocols down and enforcing them. And until we get that, I don't know that we're going to get over the hire, train, fire, or they leave, hire, train, fire process. I want to get you to the hire, train, and retain. Right. That's the goal.
Because I think in the corporate world, a lot of times it's seen as hey, we've spent a lot of time, effort, and money to hire this person, and it's expensive to go get a new one.
Yeah.
Right. And I think sometimes in smaller businesses, it's it's just like you just said, sink or swim, on to the next one. And maybe if we spent a little time and burned some calories on the front end, we'd maybe be doing ourselves a big a favor. Let's talk a little bit.
And team members are getting so tired of training. They're just exhausted. They're exhausted in the first place. And now we have to train another new one because the other one stayed for 6 weeks. She was just starting to get it, and now she left. And we're going to start again. And it's exhausting.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about this dynamic. I've heard about it. I don't know if it really exists. This might be myth, orthodontic myth, but consultants I've always felt this. Well, first of all, I'm going to give a little preamble here. I've always felt like consultants, the doctors that utilize consultants, were always the stronger practices, without a doubt. And that's a little plug for not just Andrea Cook, but a lot of you out there doing it.
There's a lot of us. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you could always sense hey, this practice has something different than the one down the road, and you can kind of piece it together. Let's talk a little bit about how staff perceives you when you walk into the office, because it's a weird dynamic, I would imagine, right?
It is.
right?
It is. Some team members, my strong team members will say, and I hear this from a lot of offices, the clinical team will tell me, we have had so many consultants in here for marketing, for the TC. Nobody has come in and been an advocate for our clinical team. We are so glad you're here. We, happy to do anything to make our lives easier. I get some resistance from some not necessarily senior team members, but some fear me coming in is somebody's getting fired. That doesn't happen. I don't do that. We set the bar and let team members make a decision if they're going to meet the bar or not, but I don't go in and fire. Once they work with me a little bit and know, hey, I've been in your shoes. I'm down to earth. I was in one office and they were running like 3 team members down, and the doctor looked over and I had gloved up and I was doing sterilization because everybody was sinking. The whole ship was going down. And I thought, I'm just not going to stand here and watch. So I was doing sterilization, doing what I could to get them set up. And things like that just make it, I'm just real. I've been in your shoes. I'm here to offer some guidance and some solutions. Let's pick what's going to work for you to make it easier. But yeah, there is a little bit, like I said, about the doctors fearing me coming in sometimes. Clinical team can have a little bit of resistance, but I'm pretty good at earning their confidence.
Yeah.
I like that piece. When I see them come down and say, she's here for us, I think, yes.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. How do you assess? I mean, you mentioned a doctor might have a sense that they have something they want your inputs on. When you go into an office, are you assessing primarily like right off the bat, observing it unbiasedly, or are you coming in right away focused on one particular thing?
I am brought in typically for one specific pain point. I rely a lot on numbers. I'll get into their practice management, whether Ortho 5, whether it's gauge, whether it's dental monitoring, whatever it is, wherever I can grab data, I'm grabbing that. So I can say, yes, that is a pain point for you and you're accurate. Or I can say that's a pain point for you, but your feeling of where it's coming from isn't where it's coming from. It's coming from over here. I had an office call me and they said, we are having so many problems with late patients. We need some good verbiage. We need to get this under control. And by running numbers, I said, your patients aren't what's running late. You are running late. You're calling your patients back because you are running late. You're not ready for the start of the day. So yes, that was their pain point, was late patients, but the cause was a different solution. Before I go into an office, they'll run a series of reports for me that come out of their practice management. So on my way into an office, I'm looking at the data so I can come up with, here's your pain point. Here's what you're feeling. Let's look at some stats. They're going to back it up so we can put the right Band-Aid on the problem instead of just slapping that on there because that's how you're feeling. I don't go by feelings. Prior to when I go in, I will have an office questionnaire, and then every team member will fill out a questionnaire on, what changes do you want to make in the office? What do you think would help? What are your pain points? Information before I go in. But the benefit of having a consultant, I'm not saying me, I'm saying a consultant come in, is oftentimes we come in with fresh eyes. We're not tainted by one of the team members who's not pulling their weight, or, doctor's not to the chair on time. We're not tainted by those things. We're just fresh eyes looking at it from an objective standpoint. And oftentimes that revolves around numbers.
Yeah, very interesting.
Fresh eyes make a difference.
What does the actual change pattern look like? How long does it typically take practices to see the changes come to fruition?
Just this last one we were in, they were having just trouble with their schedule. They weren't managing their schedule and their template, and it was just running them over. They were just running all day working. So by implementing changes, within 2 weeks, I got an email from her, and they were following it. They were doing what we had talked about, and they were starting to see results. Now, you're not always going to get it that quick, but if we develop a plan and everybody follows it, then they'll start to see relief right away. based on what we're trying to accomplish. If we're, if we're trying to build a new template, you're not going to feel any difference when I leave until we get the data and I get a template built and we get it in, which is, probably 2 months down the road. So you're not going to feel a relief right away, but we have to get a good info to make educated decisions when we do make a change, rather than just slap something on there and, hopefully it helps you. So those offices that we work on with that path are not going to feel much different right away. They're still knee deep, but we have to get some things in place before we can fix it. So if we're working on reducing emergencies, they can get their bonding protocol, under their belt within a few days and be back on track as long as we stick with it. And that's where the maintenance on my end, after I go into an office and we work, then there's a call afterwards, 30 days, we have a conversation and say, how's it going? What's working? What's not working? What do we need to change? Is everybody doing what they're supposed to be doing? Have those conversations and then keep them going in the linear path that we want them to.
Yeah, interesting.
Noticing on your site, you have just a tremendous amount of services. And I want to just make people aware of some of them because it's a laundry list. You have a lot of OSHA record keeping, infection control, sterilization systems, team building, indirect bonding. It's all over the place. It really seems like you can come in and really attack every corner of a practice. Is there an area where you feel like, man, I'm the queen at this? Like that you are like the best?
Well, okay. So in 2020, I earned a badge of honor. I truly earned a badge of honor. Between OSHA and sterilization blow up, I deserve the queen of OSHA and sterilization. I didn't ask for it. I got it, but I didn't ask for it. And it's still one of the biggest pieces of what I do. And people realizing, you have to have OSHA training within 10 days of hire for all new team members. Now, 99% of the offices that call me have no idea, that I was supposed to do that. What really does that mean, what I need to do? But that's kind of the badge that's been handed to me the last 5 years. I really enjoy some of the other areas more, but you take what you get.
Right.
Yeah.
Take what you get and you don't complain.
My granddaughter says, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. Got it.
Yes, exactly.
But I still love going in and touching those offices and saying, I can give you what you need. I can get you up to date on OSHA, get your training done, and you'll sleep at night much better than you are now.
Yeah. What's like you said, we've watched a lot happen in ortho. I would say in the last 10 years has been crazy, right?
Yeah.
Just with digital dental monitoring, you pick it out, the transformation into more corporate groups.
Yeah.
What would you say is is there something out there right now from a technology side or a product side or a Pearl side that you're like, that you, if you were an orthodontist, you would be excited about, or, something that is out there that really excites you for the future of orthodontics?
I think the future is going to be digital, whether it's, indirect bonding, treatment planning, monitoring, all of that. I think it is going to be the digital piece of it is what's really exciting for me. And to see the changes that it's making both in the industry and in practices that embrace it, that don't, my dabblers in technology, whatever technology it is, my dabblers usually get to a pain point and give up on it because they don't get over the hump. But those that truly embrace, and I'm not talking any technology in specific, just in general. If you embrace that, then you're going to start to see the results. But that's where I'm seeing most of the changes happening and the most excitement from my side and from offices. But we got to get past that frustration of my dabblers.
Yeah, I would agree. Right. If you something excited you about technology in the first place, you need to go see it through.
Yeah. Well, oftentimes the things that they see that attracted them to a technology require a full buy-in. So I'm going to take indirect bonding. Lots of different ways you can go. So no product specific. If you're going to embrace it and want the changes that it can offer, if you don't fully embrace it, you're not going to see it. If you're going to do, well, I'll do 10 cases, see how it goes, you're not going to get really good. You're not going to see the results, and your team's going to get frustrated. So you're going to throw it out. But if you go full in, make educated choices. That's one of the things I work with offices too on, is helping them, is guide them through decisions. Whether it's digital, anything on the digital platform, whether it's sterilization equipment, helping guide them from I'm an independent. I don't have any financial input from any of the companies, but helping them make those educated decisions. If I want this, then what's my best solution? And that's one of the things I bring to the table. And digital is one of those avenues. I can help guide them through the weeds.
I think you and I touched on it. I think it's probably one of the most amazing things about this industry. And I need you to confirm if I'm right or wrong on this, Andrea.
Okay.
But all right, if you took a solo doctor back in 2000, right, 25 years ago, and with one office, maybe a satellite, normal practice, that doctor, back then it felt like that doctor was cranking. I mean, cranking. Kids out in the hallways, life was busy, maybe at 300 starts. Am I remembering that right? Or maybe 400
Yep.
would be like.
That's a lot.
That was a lot back then. And now, because of technology, that same doctor could probably do what? With the same 6, 7, 800. I mean, and not miss a beat, which would have been unfathomable 20 years ago.
And even if they want to stay at 400 starts, they can do that with a lot less work hours, energy, staff, all of those things. They can do that with a lot less of that. If 400 starts is your happy place, I like to get doctors to their happy place. Not everybody is ready for 1,000 starts a year. Everybody's all over the board. Just find your number and stick with it. It's not a comparison to, you go to these meetings and it's so, how much are you, what's your annual and how many starts are you doing? It's not a competition. It's find your place. But yes, you can.
That's
work
really good
less.
though, right? Because
yeah,
doctors all have different goals, and it depends on where they are at in their personal journey. And not everyone wants to be a huge mammoth practice. I mean, there is something to say for the lifestyle. I have a great lifestyle and I make great money and I have a great practice, right?
I was working with one doctor and we were looking at the schedule and it was just completely full. There was no place to put anybody in. He said, yeah. I said, so what are your goals? And he said, well, aren't we supposed to have this was probably 10 years ago. Aren't we supposed to be having 20% growth? I said, okay, you can have it. Where are you going to put them? Your schedule is maxed out. You can't do any more. You can't see any more patients, either in your physical space or your schedule. You don't want to work any more hours. You don't want to work any more days. Why do you want 20% growth? You have to look at why you want that. It's not an industry standard. Everybody's supposed to grow at this pace. It's finding a place that fits your lifestyle, your needs. Do you have little people in your house that require and you want to spend more time with now than maybe when they're older, whatever? Look at what makes you happy. What's the number? And don't compare yourself to some of the other practices that are doing things either much smaller or larger.
Yeah. It's really insightful. Yeah. One last question. So it's funny. I mean, just as you started this thing literally in a doctor's office and at the University of Washington, and here you are all these years later, right? Where people know you, you've been around, you have client. Tell me a little bit about those. How did you get it to take off the way you did? I mean, was it harder than it seemed? I mean, it's pretty impressive, really.
I've done some scary things in my life, and that leap of faith when I left a paycheck a weekly paycheck
Yeah.
to, I had some clients lined up, but then it's also, I've got to maintain them. It's just not one and done. How am I going to do that? And it was truly a leap of faith, scariest thing I've ever done. Now I look back and I think, yeah, I am in my happy place. This is where I love working with clients. I've been provided amazing opportunities from the industry that I embrace and enjoy. I was just looking, was it 7 years ago? I was speaking at a meeting in New Zealand. Things are not bad. I
Yeah,
enjoy
right.
that.
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
it was truly a leap of faith, and I enjoyed it.
Just
I
kind
had
of
great support.
just snowballed, right? One came in, word of mouth, the
Hmm.
social network brought you more and more. Yeah.
And it's the same, similar to our doctors. The word of mouth, when patients are referring another patient, when, those things are happening, that's the sweet spot. Those are the things I love. When I hear, well, I was talking to this guy at a meeting, this other doctor at a meeting, and they said, I need to call Andrea. That's what I like. You want the same thing the doctors want the same thing from their patients. Man, I had this amazing experience at Dr. Cook's office, and you need to go there. That's what I want.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
yeah. I
If you
can't win them all, but I win as many as I can.
And if you'd like to be one of the next practices that is transformed by the greatness of Miss Andrea Cook, make sure you go to AndreaCookConsulting.com. There's a great chat functionality there. There's a contact button, lots of information on the site. Make sure you go and check it out. Give Andrea a call. Andrea, if they want to reach out direct, is there an email that they can reach at?
Just go through my website. It'll come directly to me, my phone. If I'm in an office working, I don't answer my phone because I'm there for the office. If I'm in my office working, generally I can answer the phone or leave a message and leave me the best way to contact you, and we will chat.
I wanted to say thank you for being a treasure to our industry. You've been consistent. You've been authentic all these years. Thank you so much.
I
But it
appreciate
was
that.
great
Thank
to
you.
have you on. Yeah.
That's nice, Scott. I like
I mean it.
It's so kind. It's nice. People need to hear that more, that they're really appreciated because it's not enough. So I echo that. Thank you for everything that you've done to make people's lives better. It's awesome.
Uh,
It's really cool. Scott, tell everybody how they can become part of P.O.P, this wonderful organization that you have.
Yeah, Pop's, we're doing some good things at Pop, and we try to, do more than just be a place where people can save money on supplies. So we've just kicked off our Pop Mastermind Study Club. We have some great events scheduled throughout the year. So just go to pop-ortho.com, click on the intake call. It goes right to my Calendly, and it's my favorite part of the day, spending 20, 30 minutes with each doctor, learning about you and your practice and seeing if we're a good fit for you guys. And and we've got a really cool network of doctors. We'd love to, if you're a private practice orthodontist, we'd love to bring you on the pirate ship, so to speak.
well, and I was telling Scott before we started this, I'm so honored to be talking to those that want to maintain their private practices. There's a lot that go corporate, and there's a lot of them that's a really great fit for. But the ones that want to maintain their private practices, I just applaud you. It's not the easiest route sometimes, but you're in a good place. And to have the support of others with the same mindset and the same goals is truly a great place to be. So thank you for putting that together, Scott.
Thank you.
Cream of the crop docs over there for sure.
Absolutely.
And finally, if you're having issues with your marketing or just want more insights, make sure you go to brainbitescreative.com, click on contact us, or email Caroline at brainbitescreative.com for a free, no strings attached analysis of your whole digital presence. On behalf of the P.O.P podcast, I'm Jason Sirotin. We will see you next time.
P.O.P. Podcast.